What's going on, folks? Elijah here. Came up to my favorite park here in Culver City to kind of cool off. It's a bit hot at my house. Don't have air conditioning. It's also a good chance to get a short little ride in. Uh, Today, I guess I'm going to talk about some of the modifications that I have made to this motorcycle over the course of, I want to say, the 3 years that I've had it since 2017. And uh, I guess some of the obvious things that I've done is take off a lot of the plastics because I did have a high side accident, which unfortunately I took more damage than the motorcycle did, uh, and it kind of became a good. The plastics actually held up pretty well, even though I didn't hold up as well as the plastics, but it kind of came to be obvious to take the plastics off of there. So that's one of the things I did do to this motorcycle is take off the plastics. Um, the K-Pipe, it really does have a nice, you know, great looking frame on it. That's one of the things that I love about the motorcycle. It is a good looking motorcycle. Uh, Even stock, it's pretty good looking. But after taking off, the rear plastics and some of the front plastics, just to keep them from getting cracked up because they just stick out a bit, I definitely like the look a lot better. And it's a skinny little motorcycle. It's very easy to throw around. A lot of the plastics I took off did reduce the weight significantly and improve the performance on the bike. Um, you know, One of the other modifications I've done recently is I did add a bigger sprocket in the back and a gold chain, which actually looks pretty good. I guess the gold chains are actually supposed to have more durability over their life. It's not an O-ring chain, but it is a dirt bike style chain, which I like. It's a lot easier to install. So if you want to change customize it, it's a lot easier to do. Just any work on this bike is just pretty generally easy to do. As far as aftermarket parts, unfortunately, the Kymco K-Pipe just doesn't have aftermarket parts available like many other more popular motorcycles out there. So I definitely say it's kind of a rare bike in that regard. But most of the Chinese pit bike stuff does fit pretty well on the motorcycle for the most part. I did put these I call them Fox handguards because they're not like super strong or anything. But I will say in the times that I've dropped the bike while on it, they have protected my hands, and it is nice to have some hand guards when you're splitting lanes, and for the off chance you do hit a mirror or two. These guards will protect your hand, and these are just like some one-off ones I got off of Amazon that are no longer available. I like them because they do have the integrated turn signal in. This is one of the things I did eliminate on this bike is turn signals, period. But I do have integrated turn signals on the the hand guards and also on my mirrors, front and back. The mirrors have a front and back turn signal, so people could see them up top, a little higher up. I did change the tail light to just a little simple one you can get off of Amazon. Buy them $20. That's LED, and it also has integrated turn signals with the brake light as well. It also has the a headlight. I'm sorry, a license plate light as well. This one kind of got messed up, so I actually have a replacement for the actual piece I have on here to hold it on. So I'll probably put that on later. But as far as that goes, I did put the Acrebis front fender on there because you do have to have a front fender, I guess, on motorcycles to ensure your insurance coverage. So all you guys taking off your front fenders, make sure you put something on there because they may not cover you if you have to get insurance coverage on your bike. Also put the Pirelli CTs on here, the Angel CTs. They've been awesome tires since I put them on recently. Really enjoying them. I've also changed the front sprocket because you're supposed to change the front sprocket when you change your sprocket and chain, or else you're gonna wear one or the other out really quickly. So gonna this change, because I put such a big 52 sprocket in the back on the rear wheel, it did affect the performance down. So I want to say it tops out about 40 miles an hour right now, which is about 15 miles an hour less than the stock rating, which is 55 miles an hour. So I do have the synthetic oil in here. It does give you a little bit better boost. And I did put the Iridium NKG spark plug, which does help with startup as well. Recently, I did put this little, mirror on here, or not the mirror, but this little windshield. You can get these. I did take off the front headlight and change it to this one here. The Daymaker. It's one of those things that I always kind of joke that the Harley guys got right. Motorcycle headlights, especially Asian bikes, I guess, just do not have adequate headlights, in my opinion, and nobody can see them. And that's one of the things I like about the Harley guys, is that you see their headlight is the first thing you see. And then, of course, you hear them roaring down the street with their bougie butts. But it is the one thing they got right. The Daymaker headlight, I got the 5-inch one here. And it is bright enough you do see it in the day. It is you can see the light from it in the daytime. So I want to say that's probably my favorite mod that I've done as far as safety goes. It is just a really nice bright headlight. And there's a wide variety of Daymaker headlights. This one's, survived all the drops and stuff I've been through, the drops I've done and stuff, and hasn't cracked up or anything. I did get these. These did not come with the bucket. The bucket came with some really cheap ones that just did not do a good job holding the headlight on, and it moved around all the time, and just couldn't really keep it pointed. So I did put these on. You'd have to drop the forks to put these on, but they're way better than the ones I had on here previously. This little windshield does help with the wind, as far as I've only put it on for today, but it does help a lot with the wind, which is something I had. It kind of shifts it up a little bit off your chest. It makes the bike ride a little bit smoother. And like I said, I got this thing just because I like the little moto look that I have going here, and it has kind of a very cool look, in my opinion, for this engine. So let's go around to the other side here. Excuse the sunlight. So obviously, like most of the motorcycle idiots out there, I did get a slip-on exhaust. I opted not to go for a full exhaust just because I have all my parts and stuff. So if I want to put this bike back to stock, I am able to do that because I have all aftermarket parts. And you never know, you get pulled over or something, doing something stupid, and the cops go through and write you up for all your illegal modifications, which even a slip-on exhaust is. Then it's nice to be able to put it back to stock so you can get your fixed ticket taken care of and not have to crush your bike or not be able to get it registered. So that's something I bought for myself after I passed the class as kind of a reward for passing that class. Is the aftermarket exhaust. It's a I forget what it's called. Let's see, Delcovic exhaust. They're really a lot cheaper now than it was when I got it, and it has a really cool sound. I got the triangle one because I figure it's something a little different. It has a little bling to the motorcycle that every motorcycle's got to have a little chrome on it. And so that was a cool mod I did. But other than that, I kind of kept everything stock. I'm gonna change these, or at least I'm gonna change the clutch lever. I don't know if I'm gonna change the brake lever or not. We'll see. I got a pair coming this week because my clutch lever, it's unfortunately been stripped out on the adjuster, so that's not going to work going forward. I always have to keep adjusting it all the time, and it's causing me to have clutch dragging and the bike stalling out at times, the hard shifts. So definitely going to change that out. Yesterday, for you guys that have carbureted engines, one thing about this motorcycle, since I bought it new, that it's always had a problem with is startups were just always really rough. So yesterday I went ahead and I took the carburetor off. I had another carburetor that's too big for this engine. But what I did do is I cleaned the carburetor out, cleaned out all the jets. And this carburetor is actually really simple and easy to clean. Doesn't have as much parts as some of the other small carburetors out there, like the Mikuni, I believe. But I have a Mikuni, so I took the spring from the Mikuni. So if you're having the throttle's not really tight on your bike, change the spring in your carburetor and clean it out, and it may make all the difference. And it's totally way more responsive bike. You only have to have the choke now open for like just a couple seconds, whereas before I had the choke open for probably about a good 5 minutes before the bike would not stall without the choke being open. So I guess just some advice for you guys on maintenance wise. I probably should have did it when I first got the bike, but when I first got the bike, I didn't really know a lot about working on motorcycles. Not that I'm afraid to wrench, but you got to learn the terminology, and I finally got a manual and things like that, and those things allowed me to build my confidence with working on the bike and doing what I'm able to do. I can take this bike apart all the way, and I know every nut and bolt on the bike. So if you do have one and you want some advice on something on what socket wrench to use or what size something is, I do pretty much have them all memorized, every single bolt on this thing, how to wire it up as well. One of the caveats I found working on these engines is that even though every manual will tell you to use an 8mm on these, on the bolts, especially on the case and inside the engine, I use a 5/16 because I found that it is not good to use an 8mm. It just rounds these bolts off at some point, and you're going to be pissed when you strip these off, especially the stuff inside the engine that is generally really tight from the factory. So I don't know what the discrepancy is or why that is, but I find that my 5/16 works perfectly on all these case bolts and a lot of the inside bolts inside the engine to work on it. And I only use that to work on this engine and this bike in general. So other than that, other than blowing the engine up at 6,000 miles and then having to rebuild it twice, this has been an awesome little bike. It's great for lane splitting because it's so thin. It's really light. I think it's 267 with fuel and oil in it. That's the stock curb weight. I think I got it probably down about probably 220, 230 maybe. I gotta charge up my lithium ion battery. That takes off 6 pounds real quick. And a lot of the stock stuff is kind of heavy, like the sprocket and stuff like that. So if you change it to an aftermarket, it is a lot lighter. Also, if you get a big bore kit, I believe the big bore kits have an alloy cylinder, which is a lot lighter, way lighter. So that's going to give you better performance, just the cylinder being lighter itself and whatnot. Because I'm taller recently too, I also did, go ahead and I did raise the handlebars on this bike because I'm a lot taller, and before, if I swung these all the way in, it would hit my knees. So I did get they have spacers you can use. So got some spacers off of Amazon for these bars. I got these are 7/8 inch bars. So need to actually straighten them because they're crooked as hell right now. But after you ride a bike for a while, one of the things you realize is like, oh, when my bars were first crooked, I was like, oh no, you start freaking out. But then you just get on the forums and you're like, don't worry about it, nobody cares. And so now I barely ever straighten them. I need to go home and straighten them when I get home here. I gotta adjust this carb too though. because it's now idling better, because the carbs are idling better because I cleaned it out. It's idling too high right now, but way more responsive. But lifting the bars, I didn't have to change any of the cables or anything. I was able to lift it out without doing anything, and it's still plenty loose. It definitely is a lot more comfortable on this bike to have raised handlebars if you're taller, which is one of the reasons why I didn't get a Grom or the Yamaha, because they're just too small for a big tall guy. You know, I think that's what happened. I seen a big tall guy riding on a Grom, and he just looked so crushed on there. But you know, this bike's great for me. I love it for my little short commute. Super fuel efficient, especially now that the engine's broken in. So it's really, really awesome motorcycle for those of you who like small displacement bikes. And it's made me kind of look, you know, the next bike I get will definitely probably be a small displacement bike as well. Just because I kind of I like having the lighter motorcycles. It just is way more worth it to me, in my opinion. So that's all the mods I did, guys, so far. If you have questions on maintenance or anything, I do all the maintenance on this bike myself. I do have a manual too if you need some certain specifications. Please leave a comment or question down in the comment section. We'll try to respond to you. Until next time, guys, Elijah out.